Good morning to everyone. I am George Kevin Arnapudo and I am going to discuss what is metaphor and the types of metaphor. Stylistic study of metaphor involves the idiosyncratic way metaphor is used in a specific text by individual authors or more broadly sets of authors forming a school, generation, or social groups. A metaphor in stylistic is a figure of speech that makes a comparison between two unlike things. As a literary device, metaphor creates implicit comparisons without the express use of like or as. Metaphor is a means of asserting that two things are identical in comparison rather than just similar. These are the types or styles of metaphor in stylistics. So the first type of metaphor is the extended metaphor. An extended metaphor uses descriptive language to elaborate a comparison. It is a type of metaphor that you find reference throughout a stanza, a full poem, a couple of paragraphs, or an entire blog post. A comparison between two unlike things that continues throughout a series of sentences in a paragraphs or lines in the poem. Second type of metaphor is the dead metaphor. A figure of speech that has lost its force and imaginative effectiveness through frequent use. These are metaphors that have been overused to the point that they've become cliches. So you're better not using them as dead metaphors because of the lost much of their impact with their overuse. For example, time is running out. When you say time is running out, it means that you almost don't have enough time to do things that you need to do. The third type of metaphor is the mixed metaphor. The name explains what a mixed metaphor is. It is a combination of two commonly used metaphors. For example, let's get all our ducks on the same page. This one combination of two prominent metaphor gets on the same page and get our ducks in a row. So mixed metaphor is the succession of incongruous or ludicrous comparisons. Incongruous means lacking congruity and ludicrous means amusing or laughable through obvious absurdity. The fourth type of metaphor is visual metaphor. A visual image compares something to visual image of another. This type of metaphor is common in advertising where a product is visualized with another object. For example, spicy Cheetos being compared to fire. So there's also another way to see visual metaphors as metaphors that compare something to another to give visual identity. For instance, in her poem, Hope is the thing with feathers, therefore the visual image of the bird to hope. And visual metaphor is a representation of a person, place, thing, or idea by way of visual image that suggests a particular association or point of similarity. The fifth metaphor is the root metaphor. It is defined as an image, narrative, or fact that shapes an individual's perception of the world and interpretation of reality. The sixth metaphor is the absolute metaphor. A metaphor in which one of the terms can't be readily distinguished from the other. In other words, the content of metaphor can't be stated explicitly because the only way to express the content is through the metaphor itself. For example, this metaphor compare two things that have no connection but are joined to make a point, such as she is doing a tightrope walk with her grades this semester. Of course, she is not a circus performer, but absolute metaphor tightrope walk clearly makes the point about the precarious nature of her academic standing. The seventh metaphor is the complex metaphor. A metaphor in which a literal meaning is expressed through more than one figurative term, a combination of primary metaphors. Stylistic approaches to metaphor use to take metaphor as one of the most important rhetorical figures of speech which could characterize a particular style. Metaphor is located in the section of tropes together with the metonymy, synecdoche, and other figure of speech defined by strange meaning or semantic deviation.